Okay, let's assume for the moment that you placed your router back into the, now let's just say you're in in-service mode and you run Putty and Putty lets you log in and you set your Winbox to disabled equals no. And now when you go to log in up here using Winbox, wrong username or password, we know the new username's right, because that username was used with Putty when we logged in with the private key. So we know the password's what's wrong. So how do we fix the password? Well, the solution is we come back down here in our Putty window, click on it to activate it. We type in user. That puts us in the user folder. We do print. And it shows us the only user active is a do-it user. So the password on do-it is screwed up for some reason. Or you forgot it. So what we can do, we can set username, which is do-it, password equals the correct password, what you think it should be. Hit enter, and you notice it did it. So now we've changed the do-it user password within Winbox by using SSH with keys. Let's go back now. Go to close this. We go up here and we put in the password we just changed it to. And now we can log in once again. So that's how you fix a lost or broken password. Use the SSH with keys to get in there. Use the terminal, the SSH terminal, to set the user password to something that you know. So that concludes this little blurb. Now let's assume it's several weeks later and you decide to go back to configure your router. You start up Winbox and the logins fail. And you think, oh yeah, I got to use the SSH with keys. So you go ahead and you select your username in your Putty program, load the parameters in, and lo and behold, it says unable to use the key at this location. This key has the name, I deleted the J, so it would be wrong. So it's unable to open the file for whatever reason. Now once you use or do it password, that doesn't do any good. We already know what that does because it still requires a key. It's not going to do anything. So the only way out of this mess is if you had the foresight to back up your maintenance things. He bitched because he got tired of waiting to log in, so that gave me a warning. Putty shut down saying, I'm not waiting anymore for your bad login. So how do we fix that? Well, we have to do a factory reset on the modem. And you've already seen how to do that in previous lessons. So we're going to assume the factory reset has now been done. The modem's now ready to come up with admin. And no password. So we've reset the router to the factory default mode. So now we're going to try to log in using those credentials. Once the router comes back up and we log in, we got this default configuration question. You always want to say OK. See, on Winbox, users is under system. On the actual router, the Linux part of router, the users are their own folder off of main, so it's a little confusing sometimes. Okay, now that we've completed our factory reset, we have to go over here to Files and do a maintenance backup to recover all of our parameters that we had before. We're going to restore the maintenance backup. Restore, maintenance backup, restore, yes, and reboot. So now it's going to restore our maintenance backup file and allow us to reboot. Remember, this all started because we couldn't use Winbox because we were in service mode, so we couldn't get in with Winbox to fix this. So we had to go back, reset the router to defaults, load the maintenance version of the backup back into the router, which it's doing right now, and then we'll be able to come back to the router and we'll be able to go in and fix the Putty key. We're waiting for the router to come back. Looks like it's coming back now. So now because we're in our maintenance mode, we can actually log in with Winbox. And you have to upload, got to upload the public key that you just created, the new one, to replace the old one. Now we'll put the public key back here in the file system. And users, notice do it, user does have an SSH key. We got to remove that key. We simply select it, hit the minus sign to remove the key. I'm not going to, I don't have to reboot again. Anyway, just remove the key, then you go back to users, then you go back to SSH again, and you import a new key, a new public key that you just generated. Key file name, passphrase, import the new key. Now your user will have an SSH key associated with it. And now you have to go over to Putty and change the private key. So do it as we were working with. We load that up. Come down here to SSH. Come down here to authority. Right here is where the key goes. End of file. This key right here is your new private key, which goes with that public key that you gave to the router. So now, once you've done that, you go back up here and make sure everything's the way you want it. And you save the new private key into the user do it data file. So now you have updated your Putty, you've updated the router, and you recovered from your inability to access the router using Putty with an SSH key. Now that you've corrected the keys for the Putty, you have to go in here and you have to do an in-service backup to write over the old Putty public file. You also want to make sure that you're under your IP and your services they call it here. Winbox is disabled. So Winbox is disabled. Now you're in service mode because you have a user, have only one user. This user does have an SSH key. So you're in service mode at this point. So we simply do a backup to our in service mode. In service. Use the word backup so you know what it is. And back it up. I'm not going to, I didn't change anything. Once you've done that, then you're back where you were to start. You now have Putty access, and you also, as earlier in the video, you also have password access if you lost that. So that concludes this video. These are the corrections to make the video right.